Hi, it's Tammy. I wanted to, I'm really hung up on this thing with kindness and really wanting to talk about how kindness is really affecting so many of us on a number of levels. And when I say I work with autism, I do. And what I know with a lot of people is that insomnia is a major issue. The thing that I keep saying a lot of is that autism is a form of sensitivity that we all have. We all are very sensitive to the people around us and to the world around us. And it's just that we have a tendency to tune out to that. And the gift of autism is that it actually reflects to us what we have, with the potential that we have. And if we start paying more attention to the way the world affects us, then we might actually experience a whole different level of wellness. Now, let me expand on that a little bit. There's a young man that I was speaking with. He's a caretaker at a one of these homes that takes care of older adults with disabilities. Well, I should say it's more of a, these gentlemen live on their own. They do have caretakers that come into the house. And one of them is an autistic man who has trouble with sleeping, and his therapist is doing a brilliant job of working with him, but he's having a very difficult time with integrating what he's being worked with on because of his own personal stress levels. He understands that people gauge him differently, people react to him differently, and he believes and knows that he's different. So on that, we're talking about stress. And then you have the way he's treated creates stress. And all of that compounded with his inability to be able to integrate because he can't hear something long enough to be able to, because he's so sensitive to everything else, that this level of stress is just causing things to be affected internally. Now, how does this relate to kindness? Well, interestingly enough, I mentioned this to somebody one other time, and that is, we talk about being kind to one another, and I am just floored by the amount of kindness that I see people offering to others. Whether it be helping to do a chore or at the grocery store. I mean, the kindness it's around us if we pay attention to it. What I'm talking about when I talk about kindness is the way we talk to ourselves. Now, this young man with autism, I don't believe he speaks very kindly to himself because people have told him things over his life, and he senses. He doesn't even have to be told anything. He sees and he senses the way people respond to him and react to him, and he internalizes this. This is part of being human, and we have the tendency to doubt, worry, be concerned, feel guilty, feel different, and we end up comparing ourselves. One of the greatest things I've ever heard is, whatever we can do, don't compare ourselves to others. That is the worst act of that is harm. It's harmful. And so I wanted to really begin to address how our lack of kindness towards ourselves is actually affecting every system in our body. It's affecting the way our body produces cortisol. It's affecting the way our body digests our food. It's affecting everything. I always talk about kindness these days as the root ingredient to recreating wellness. Now, how it manifests in anyone's body is it's impossible to predict. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's genome is different. And being able to access wellness through kind thoughts and words is probably the greatest gift we can give ourselves. From there, because I'm not taking away from the kind acts that I see as bestowing upon other people. I'm more concerned about the way we talk to ourselves. We hear that stress kills, and my theory is that the kinder we are to ourselves, the better equipped our body is to handle the world around us. when I saw a picture yesterday that talked about stopping and, kind of smelling the flowers, and it was related to mental health. And there's a bunny running around here. I don't know if you can see the bunny. Anyway, when we don't stop and we don't give ourselves a chance to smell the flowers and pause, and like I said, this was related to mental health, and as far as I'm concerned, most of us are dealing with that. I consider that the onset of any kind of mental health issue. When you are too anxious and too stressed out and too keyed up to be able to stop and enjoy the bunny rabbits or, a child for a moment. I mean, just pause for that breath. When we don't allow ourselves that, because of all of whatever the conversation that follows after that, and I'm talking about the conversation in our heads, mind you, when we start telling ourselves that we can't because we have timelines, we are really hurting ourselves. And the interesting thing is I can wrap my head around and I can actually see why the world is the way it is. I can understand why so many things are operating in the way that they are. And it almost feels like we have gotten ourselves into quite the dilemma, if you will, because we become trapped in this cycle of I can't pause, I can't take a break, I have to multitask, I have to drive myself crazy. And the more keyed up that we become, the more intense it feels to those around us. We are magnificent at interpreting the way we see others operate. If we see somebody that has a snarl or isn't smiling or is focused on something or completely misses us altogether, can walk right by us and not even smile at us, we will immediately jump to a judgment about that person. I've heard it time and time again. As opposed to thinking, well, maybe that person is just having a rough day. I've seen it in the grocery stores when you go to the clerk and they barely want to speak to you. And but I've noticed a big shift in them when you ask them how their day is going. We come up with all of these interpretations, and I've made it a point these days that when somebody doesn't respond to me or is saying something that is rather vague or undefinable, I will actually ask them to clarify for me, because I don't want to be left to interpret what exactly it is they're saying, because a lot of my interpretations can be unkind. It can be about awful things about myself, that I'm not enough, that I didn't say the right thing, that I'm not smart enough to engage in conversation. I mean, this can go on, the laundry list of things that can go on in anyone's mind just based off of interpretations of the way other people interact or don't interact with us is extraordinary. And that level of stress or inability to not think those things and to be kind. My son's roommate actually is very frustrated right now because he's only got minimal hours at work and is really looking for other jobs. And his description is, I'm frustrated. Well, I'm sure he is frustrated, but there's good reason for everything. But there's a lot of conversation that goes on behind the scenes, behind that frustration, that is causing him to have a lot of health issues that include, weakened immune system, that cause him to lack sleep. I have another child that I work with who has autism, and she deals with insomnia, among other things, but we've managed to get a lot of things kind of stabilized, I guess you might say. But the insomnia kind of fluctuates depending on her immune system, and I've worked with Mom for a long time, for a few years now, and I initially, when I started working with her, would try to point out what actually might be causing stress for her. And pardon me? The garbage, there's a garbage can around the side there. Yeah, it's for the personal residence right here. This is for our house. There's none. There's garbage up the street too. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay, have a good day. Somebody wanted to throw garbage away, but he'd have to walk quite the long way to get over to the garbage can. Didn't know who he was. Anyway, so like I was saying, this young girl who has been living with autism since she was diagnosed at 2. I've been working with Mom for a couple of years, and one of the things that I initially started with is that I recognized stress actually affecting all of us, but because I work so closely with addiction and a lot of mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and autism and such, there's a whole number of, like I said, I recognize the way stress shows up in many people. And with autism, I see it being an extraordinary gift in the sense that they have an incredible ability to sense the world around them. But it's our inability to be able to recognize this and see, and we have a tendency to see their differences, and we form judgments and opinions about that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I guess the way I want to clarify this is when I was a young girl, I didn't understand mental health issues, and I saw a lot of children that were separated from the normal classrooms because they were different. They had their disabilities. Well, because of my lack of understanding, I used to privately make fun of these children because I was trying to make sense of what was going on. But I did have my own judgments and interpretations because nobody ever explained this to me. Not one person, not even our teachers. I just grew up seeing differences, and without an understanding, I judged and interpreted. Over the years, as I grew up, I still held myself as separate and better than. And then I was gifted my oldest, who is challenged with his own disabilities. And somebody told me at that time, when we recognized it, that the way Native cultures embrace the way children are born, and they identify the qualities in that human being, and they empower it. And those who had what we would call a disability, as our world sees it, were actually considered the eternal child. And that helped make peace for me. It actually helped me resolve myself, because at some point I felt like I'd been punished for privately teasing people. In the process of doing that, I found extraordinary gifts in my son and recognized the sensitivity that's in him, and I have now seen the very same thing in so many people, including myself. I don't have any necessary diagnoses, but I mean, I can feel anxious, I can feel depressed. I've had my history of addiction, so there's a level of sensitivity to the world that I believe all of us have. It's just that we are not in tune with it, and then what's happening is we internalize it, we become stressed about it, we form our own judgments and opinions about ourselves, we interpret the way the world's interacting with us, and now we are actually causing harm to our body. So like I said, it's, this to me is it's a bigger issue than we are recognizing, and kindness in the workplace, when it begins with us, it would be huge. It would actually it would be the greatest gift we could take into the workplace. Imagine if we started thinking kind things to ourselves, or if we recognized that we thought poorly of ourselves, we didn't do something well enough, or that was a bad, or that was wrong, and And if we shifted it and went, you know what, I'm perfectly imperfect, and what can I gain from this, and be softer and easier and kinder to ourselves as we would to a child, it would actually alter the way we interacted with other people. Can you see that? I mean, it would just alter the way we would talk to others. It would alter the way we just looked at somebody else. And in turn, it would help other people find ease in the way they treat themselves. I mean, this is an amazing gift that we have to give to someone, and it starts with the way we talk to ourselves. This is a gift we can give to ourselves right now. And so anyway, that's kind of where I wanted to go with this today. I have a feeling this is going to grow, and I really want people to begin to let me know how we can dialogue about this, because like I said, this is the root ingredient. This is the main ingredient to our wellness. It's not going to be the be-all, end-all. We do know, though, that in recovery, many people can switch rather quickly, especially when the body is given the right instructions. It doesn't take a lot of mega dosing. It doesn't take a lot of anything. It takes a lot of kindness, I can tell you that. It takes a lot of ease, I can tell you that. But it doesn't take a lot of man-made stuff. The only thing we need to worry about is creating love for ourselves, and then adding, the benefit from the plants. I mean, here we are. We have this amazing world around us. And, I'm aware that, personalized wellness is becoming the thing. And, but I want to caution you on doing a lot of what everybody else is doing, and beginning to step into being kind to yourself and listening for what your body needs and following that path. It doesn't need a lot. And when we use a little bit of, and like I say, I work with people nutritionally in the sense that I make nutritional suggestions, recommendations. I provide, depending on the location, provide very specific essential oil blends that help to modify genetic expression. And in the meantime, the body begins to utilize the nutrients that are being consumed via supplement or diet. It also assists medications. That's the beautiful thing about it. And there's less harm being occurring, because it's no mistaking that medications have an amazing place on this planet, and at the same time, because the body's not getting the right nutrients, incorporating essential oils into the protocol eases and provides kindness on a cellular level. So there's the thing, is we can provide kindness on a cellular level. When things come up, like a gentleman wanting to walk into my yard, and I mean, I actually have to walk quite the distance, and I really didn't want him to, I don't know, it just fell on my shoulder, but I might have been blessed just now. Anyway, yeah, he had to walk by some things, and because I didn't know him, I just thought I would redirect him. And to be really honest with you, I had to stop and not feel guilty for just allowing him to walk through my yard, around my house, and to the garbage can. So anyway, these are things that take practice, and we're all human. We all have the capacity to be kind to ourselves and one another. We also have the capacity to annihilate ourselves. So recognizing that we are perfectly imperfect, and every opportunity is, or everything is an opportunity to redirect and find a different way of bringing quality to our time on this planet. So I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to our next little chat. And until then, have a beautiful day. Bye.